Hello, and welcome to WikiReads. Today we're going to read the Wikipedia article about Hamilton the musical. Hamilton, an American musical, simply known as Hamilton, is a sung and rapped through musical with music, lyrics, and a book by Lin-Manuel Miranda. It tells the story of American founding father Alexander Hamilton. Inspired by the 2004 biography Alexander Hamilton by Ron Chernow, the show draws heavily from hip-hop as well as R&B, pop, soul, and traditional style show tunes. And it casts non-white actors as the founding fathers and other historical figures. Miranda described Hamilton as about America then as told by America now. From its opening, Hamilton received critical acclaim. It premiered off-Broadway on February 17, 2015 at the Public Theater, where its several-month engagement was sold out. It won 8 Drama Desk Awards, including Outstanding Musical. It then transferred to the Richard Rodgers Theater on Broadway, opening on August 6, 2015, where it received uniformly positive reviews and a high box office sales. At the 2016 Tony Awards, Hamilton received a record 16 nominations and won 11 awards, including Best Musical. It received the 2016 Pulitzer Prize for Drama. The Chicago production of Hamilton began preview performances at the CIBC Theater in September 2016 and opened the following month. The West End production opened at the Victoria Palace Theatre in London on December 2017, winning 7 Oliver Awards in 2018, including Best New Musical. The first U.S. national tour began in March 2017. A second U.S. tour opened in February 2018. Hamilton's third U.S. tour began January 11, 2019, with a 3-week engagement in Puerto Rico featuring Miranda as Hamilton. We'll continue on with the synopsis. Act 1. The orphan Alexander Hamilton leaves his home on the island of Nevis. After arriving in New York in 1776, Hamilton meets Aaron Burr, John Laurens, and Marquis de Lafayette and Marquis Mulligan, and impresses them with his rhetorical skills. They affirm their revolutionary goals to each other. Meanwhile, wealthy sisters Angelica, Eliza, and Peggy Schuler go into town seeking out potential suitors. Samuel Seabury warns everyone about the dangers of Congress, but Hamilton disagrees and tries to counter Seabury. King George then insists on his authority. During the New York and New Jersey campaign, Hamilton accepts a position as George Washington's aide-de-camp instead of field command. At Philip Schuyler's ball, Eliza Schuyler falls hopelessly in love with Alexander, who reciprocates her feelings, and the two marry. As Angelica suppresses her feelings for the sake of their happiness at the wedding. After the wedding, Burr congratulates Hamilton on his position as aide-de-camp to Washington. Hamilton admits that he would much rather have Burr's position on the battlefield. Burr reflects on Hamilton's swift rise while considering his own career as more cautious. As conditions worsen for the Continental Army, Hamilton aids Laurens in a duel against Charles Lee, who had insulted Washington. Laurens injures Lee, who yields. Hamilton is temporarily suspended by Washington over the duel and is sent home. There, Eliza reveals that she is pregnant with her first child and asks Hamilton to slow down to take in what has happened in their lives. After Lafayette persuades France to get involved in the colonists' side, he urges Washington to call Hamilton back to help plan the final siege of Yorktown. Washington agrees, but explains to Hamilton, who is convinced he should die a martyr and a hero in war, that he should be careful with his actions, because whatever he does will be known for ages to come. At the siege of Yorktown, Hamilton meets up with Lafayette to take down the British, revealing that Mulligan was recruited as a spy, helping them figure out how to trap the British and win the war. Soon after the victory at Yorktown, King George asks the rebels how they will succeed in governing on their own. Lafayette returns to France with plans to inspire his people to have their own revolution. Hamilton's son, Philip, is born, while Burr has a daughter, Theodosia, and the two tell their children how they will do anything to protect them. Hamilton receives word that his friend Lawrence has been killed in a seemingly pointless battle after the war was won, and throws himself into his work. He co-authors the Federalist Papers and is selected as Secretary of the Treasury by newly elected President Washington. Eliza begs Hamilton to stay. Angelica moves to London with her new husband. Act 2. Thomas Jefferson returns to America from being the U.S. ambassador to France. In 1789, Jefferson and Hamilton debate Hamilton's financial proposals at a cabinet meeting. Washington tells Hamilton to figure out a compromise to win over Congress. Eliza and her family, along with Angelica back from London, travel upstate during the summer, while Hamilton stays home to work on the compromise. Hamilton begins an affair with Maria Reynolds, making him vulnerable to her husband's blackmail. Hamilton, Jefferson, and James Madison create the Compromise of 1790 over a private dinner, exchanging Hamilton's financial plan for placing the country's permanent capital on the Potomac River. Burr is envious of Hamilton's sway in the government and wishes he had similar power. Burr switches political parties and defeats Philip Schuyler, making Hamilton now a rival. In another cabinet meeting, Jefferson and Hamilton argue over whether the United States should assist France in its conflict with Britain. President Washington ultimately agrees with Hamilton's argument for remaining neutral. In the wake of this, Jefferson, Madison, and Burr decide to join forces to find a way to discredit Hamilton in Washington's eyes. Washington decides to retire from the presidency, and Hamilton assists in writing a farewell address. A flabbergasted King George receives word that George Washington has stepped down and will be replaced by Paris signatory John Adams. John Adams becomes the second president and fires Hamilton, who, in response, publishes an inflammatory critique of the president. In the face of accusations of speculation of government funds by Jefferson, Madison, and Burr, out of fear that his affair with Maria Reynolds will be used against him in his political career, Hamilton chooses to publicize his affair in the Reynolds pamphlet, damaging his relationship with Eliza. Eliza, in a heartbroken retaliation, burns all the letters Hamilton wrote her, trying to erase herself from history. Philip, instructed by Hamilton, challenges George Acre in a duel and is critically injured and dies, causing a reconciliation between Alexander and Eliza. Hamilton's endorsement of Jefferson in the presidential election of 1800 results in further animosity between Hamilton and Burr, who challenges Hamilton to a duel via an exchange of letters. Hamilton writes his last letter in a rush, while Eliza tells him to go back to bed. Burr and Hamilton travel to New Jersey for the duel. Both Burr and Hamilton fire after 10 paces, with Hamilton intentionally missing his shot. Hamilton dies with Eliza and Angelica at his side. Burr laments that though he survived, he is cursed to be remembered as the villain who killed Hamilton. The musical closes with a reflection on historical memory, showing how Eliza kept Hamilton's legacy alive. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the reading and learned something. I'll talk to you again real soon.